Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
Good morning, I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal. Today in studio with me is Jennifer Neary. She's the program director of Connect to End Violence. That's a program of the Martha's Vineyard Community Services over on the island. And it's a rape crisis center as well. They are trying to reduce domestic violence on the vineyard through education and advocacy. They also provide crisis intervention services such as counseling and support services for victims. Also joining us is Michael Saletti. He's a tribal ranger with the Wampanoag tribe of Aquinnah. Michael is also involved in the effort to provide education to island school students to bring their attention to the danger of domestic violence. We'll be discussing the issue and efforts to reduce the problem. Also, Connect is holding an event to bring like-minded men together to focus attention on the problem of domestic violence. Good morning. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
So, Jennifer, I want to start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your program, what its primary focus is?
Yes, we're the Domestic Violence and Rape Crisis Center located on the island of Martha's Vineyard. And as you mentioned, we provide supportive services to survivors and victims of domestic and sexual violence, as well as their loved ones, their significant others.
And so tell me about the problem on the island specifically. Is it a widespread issue over there? I mean, I don't want to say do you get a lot of business, but do you have a lot of people coming to you for the services that you provide?
Yes, we do. We have a very small team at Connect. There's myself and 3 other domestic violence and rape crisis counselors, and our days are pretty full. We have people who come on their own and they come to receive services, or they're referred to by the police or the courts or the hospitals. So we're pretty busy.
And primarily, what sort of services do you provide? People come to you and let's say they've been a victim of this problem. And what do you tell them when they come in? Do you have an initial interview and you see kind of what their needs are, and then you can focus your services to tailor their particular problem?
Yes, sometimes they come in based on if there's been a crisis that they've experienced, or there's been an immediate act of physical violence. Sometimes our clients come in and they're in a relationship and they see some warning signs. They're feeling like the relationship isn't very healthy.
So I don't want to say, Jennifer, that you have a lot of clients or a lot of customers, but tell me about what happens when someone comes to you and is in need of your services. How does that work? Are they referred by the police, or how do they meet with your people?
They can come in. All of our services are free and confidential. So if a client were to think that they would like to come speak to one of our counselors, we have walk-in services or by appointment. They might come in and just speak with one of the 3 counselors that we have, just to talk about the dynamics of their relationship, figure out if they feel safe or not. Sometimes clients will come in after an incident of crisis, whether it's they had to have some intervention with the police or the hospital, and then they'll be referred to us by the courts perhaps, and we'll jump right in. We'll provide short-term counseling for them. We'll provide referral services. If we are working with them through the courts, we'll provide court advocacy through assistance with obtaining a abuse prevention order, harassment prevention order against their abuser. Some of our clients, we come into first contact with them at the hospital if they've experienced an assault of a kind, and we'll provide accompaniment there as well. So you
just kind of shepherd them through the process, whether it be medically or even legally. It sounds like you can assist them in obtaining restraining orders and just kind of helping them through what probably to them is a very foreign environment with regard to the courts and all of that.
Yeah, we follow the empowerment model. So if a client were to come with us, typically the majority of victims of abuse are women. The majority of perpetrators are men, although men, women, anyone can be a victim or survivor of domestic violence. But when they come to us, we don't tell them what to do. What we like to do is hear their story, provide them with different options, and then support whatever choice that they decide to make. Some women decide that leaving the relationship is the right thing to do for them, and we support them and we help them throughout that, navigate that process. Some women, they might decide that they want to stay in the relationship. So we focus on how we can help them be safe.
And now, if someone decides to stay in a relationship of this type, what are the chances are that you're going to be involved with them again, that they're going to come to you again because the same thing sort of happens over and over? Is that generally the case?
Sometimes, yes. Each case, there's no cookie-cutter abusive relationship. Every survivor, their story is unique, and they're an expert in their own story. So what we do is we try to support whatever choices they make. We have some clients who have been in their relationships for 30 years and they don't want to leave, but they want to receive supported services and stay safe. Some people will just see them during an incident of crisis and then we won't hear from them again. But there's been, typically we do have interactions with the same people throughout over the years.
Right. Now, is there a typical model for someone who could be subject to domestic violence? Is there a particular type of person that you see commonly in your profession?
No. Domestic violence does not discriminate. Anyone, regardless of their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, gender identity, anything, anyone can be a victim of domestic violence. There's no...
It cuts across all socioeconomic and racial divides.
Yes.
There's no set model, in other words.
Right. Age, anything.
Right. Now, when these incidents happen, do you find that there's a prevalence of drug or alcohol abuse in these situations that sometimes lead to, I don't know, things getting? I don't want to diminish the importance of this subject, but somebody gets a little out of sorts with regard to drugs or alcohol, and they're more predisposed to engage in this sort of behavior?
Right. With domestic violence, it's a pattern of abusive and controlling behaviors. It's about power and control, not about whether they've been under the influence, the stress of their day, they're angry. So with that being said, domestic violence, it is a choice and it is a learned behavior. Alcohol, substance abuse, other things can definitely exacerbate the problem. But at the end of the day, blaming substance abuse or other stressors and factors is not an excuse for domestic violence.
Sure, absolutely not. Tell me some of the warning signs if someone is listening to this and they want to know, well, geez, I'm not feeling comfortable in my relationship. I feel a little threatened. What should people be looking for if they're concerned about this going on in their own relationship? Maybe it hasn't come to full light yet, but there's kind of an emerging pattern here of control, as you say, or something like that.
Definitely. Feelings of isolation if your partner is preventing you or telling you not to hang out with different people, such as friends or family or coworkers, that isolating you, trying to manipulate different things. If someone says, why did you make me do this? All of our actions, they're our own choices. We don't abuse someone because of what someone else did. That's a choice. So if you're being blamed for someone else's abusive behaviors, and there is help available. If there are warning signs, we have the Connect on the Vineyard. There's local programs throughout the Cape, Independence House, Cape Cod Center for Women. There's national hotlines. So if there are warning signs that if your partner is deliberately embarrassing you in front of your friends, accusing you of things that you're not doing and trying to manipulate it so you feel guilty for things that you're doing and that you're not doing, those are definitely warning signs.
Those are warning signs. Okay, well, how about, it's probably a hard number to target, but what percentage of that behavior winds up in physical assaults or something of that nature?
I think that is a hard prediction to make. But the national average for domestic violence against women is 1 in 4 women have experienced some sort of violence in their relationship by their partner. So that number is pretty high.
Now, you mean actual physical assaults?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So that starts someplace. Our thoughts become our words, then they can, if there's threats of violence, that can always escalate to physical violence. And ultimately, there's always that threat of lethality if it ever, if it does escalate to that point, which it does.
Right. More frequently than we would like, of course. Yes. So, Jen, you mentioned that the majority of the victims of domestic violence are women and the majority of perpetrators are men. So, Mike, I want to bring you in on the discussion here and tell me kind of what your involvement is with this program and what you're trying to achieve.
Well, Rob, my role in this program is working with Jennifer, going into the local schools and talking to our young people about relationships, what healthy relationships look like, what unhealthy relationship looks like, and trying to establish some knowledge in those young people about what domestic violence is, what it can be, how it grows, and trying to steer them away from walking into that line of life. I think a big issue that we have doing the work that we do is trying to make people understand that there is no set definition of what an abuser looks like and what a victim looks like and what that relationship looks like, and just trying to help them understand, the cues and helping them pick up on those so that they can protect themselves.
So go ahead, Jen.
Okay. One of the things that we do in the schools, which Michael touched upon, is talking about what an unhealthy relationship can look like through the 5 types of abuse. But we also flip that, and we talk about with the students in the school what those 5 different categories, the domestic, the physical violence, verbal, emotional, sexual, financial, what that can look like in a healthy way as well. So we focus on the warning signs, things that are unhealthy, but we also like to flip that and focus on how can these things be shown in a healthy manner.
I'm Rob Woodard. You're listening to Sunday Journal. Today in studio with me is Jennifer Neary. She is program director to Connect Martha's Vineyard. Connect Martha's Vineyard to End Violence. That's a program of Martha's Vineyard Community Services. Also with us is Michael Saletti. He's a tribal ranger with the Wampanoag Tribe of Aquinnah, and he's involved in the effort to provide education to island school students. So, Mike, tell me a little bit more specifically about your efforts. What number one, what age groups are you working with?
Well, Rob, we work with 7th and 8th graders currently, and we are also looking towards going into the high schools and working with the young people in the high school. Obviously, we have to cater the curriculum to those age groups and looking at to what level can we discuss this type of thing with people, and how do we frame those situations and those dynamics so that they can understand them. When it comes to there's stark differences just between 7th and 8th grade. I was looking over the curriculum just this morning and thinking about the degree to which we talk about violence and or the level of staying out of somebody else's business because you think that that's the best decision to make, and how 7th grade it's very vague, talking about, well, I see something that's kind of wrong, but maybe I shouldn't step in because it's not my business. And then in the 8th grade curriculum, it steps up so much, and it's almost as though we're treating them as adults at such a young age, trying to show them that this stuff does happen and they need to be careful and aware of it, and just trying to help them out to become fully functioning people at a young age. And
what about men in general? I know that you guys have an event coming up, the Seawall, and Jennifer, you want to tell me about that?
Yes, yep. We the Seawall event. This will be our 3rd year throwing it, and it started 2 years ago with Max Sherman. He is a Tisbury police officer on the Vineyard and also a volunteer with Connect. And the idea of the Seawall event is to engage men more in domestic violence and the role that they play, whether they're perpetrators or not. Domestic violence is commonly seen in society as a woman's issue. It's not. It's a human issue. And through the men's event, the idea is to have a group of like-minded, good men who do not support violence against women and do not perpetrate themselves. And, in fact, they are the majority. The majority of men do not perpetrate. However, all we hear about in the news are men who perpetrate,
right.
But the good men. So they stand on the seawall holding the sign of a poster with the name of a woman or a female that they care about, that they love, just demonstrating that they care about women, they care about this issue, which is a human issue, and they want to take a stand that they're against violence against women.
And the Seawall, which Seawall is it?
It's in Vineyard Haven.
Okay. And so this is a 3-year-old program now. Do you see that it's expanding each year? Are you getting more participants as each year passes?
Yes, definitely. And the feedback we get is really powerful. It's a really powerful visual on the Seawall, seeing last year I believe we had a little over 30 men throughout the 3-hour event. And there's general community members, visitors to the island, law enforcement's represented. One year we had the collegiate baseball team, the Martha's Vineyard Sharks, stand, members from the Coast Guard. So it's a pretty powerful visual, and from island men, visitors, just representing that point of view.
Right, and this goes on July 19th from 11 to 2 in Vineyard Haven. It's your 3rd annual Seawall event. So getting back to the students, Mike, do you talk to them in your capacity as a tribal ranger, or how does that work? How are you coming at them?
We approach the students as facilitators of a discussion. So we work with the MVP model from Sports and Society from Northeastern University. That's Mentors for Violence Prevention. And we work as facilitators. We bring this idea to the students, and we introduce topics, and we allow them to discuss those things amongst themselves to figure out where they stand, how they understand what we're discussing, and allow them to have a valuable debate with each other about what the issues are, how to address them, how not to address them, and we just guide that. and we introduce, a couple of topics throughout our session, and really we're just there to make sure that it stays within parameters and that doesn't get out of hand, and that there's no issues amongst the students discussing these problems for themselves.
When we talk about these issues with the students, it's about being an active bystander, and how whenever you see something unhealthy, you see an abusive situation taking place, or someone confides in you about how the only wrong thing to do in a situation like that is to do nothing.
And so what should they be doing? Should they be confronting the abuser? Or
it's about, not necessarily, it's about being safe as well. So offering that support for the person who is being abused. And then with the students, we encourage them, we help identify a trusted adult, whatever local resources there are, such as Connect.
So go tell, if you see something happening, go tell, your teacher or another adult that hopefully will assist the child in getting him or herself out of that situation. Yeah. What sort of response are you getting from these kids, Mike?
Well, I personally haven't been in the schools. My coworker has, and from what I gathered from him, the students are enjoying it. They enjoy being treated as adults. It's really important in this day and age that we understand that these kids are not the same kids that kids were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that they understand these situations. It's all over media. It's all over social networking, and these things are in the forefront of the American society. And so I think that they really appreciate that we treat them as adults and we allow them to take part in these discussions. Right.
Unfortunately, we only have about a minute or so left. Jen, you want to give me some final thoughts on the whole program and maybe recap the Seawall event?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So as the Domestic Violence and Rape Crisis Center on Martha's Vineyard, we have a 24-hour crisis hotline that the number is 508-696-7233. And that's available for any victim survivors or loved ones to call for resources. In addition to our core services, part of our prevention work is the Seawall event coming up on July 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the Vineyard Haven Seawall. And we invite all men to come and take a stand against violence against women.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, you guys. Today in studio was Jennifer Neary. She's the program director of Connect to End Violence. That's a program of the Martha's Vineyard Community Service. She works to prevent domestic violence and provide services for those who are victims. Also joining us was Michael Saletti. He's a tribal ranger with the Wampanoag tribe of Aquinnah. He's involved in the effort to provide education to island school students to bring their attention to the danger of domestic violence. I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.